What's up, everybody? It's Gina Bina here with Caliber, sitting down for an awesome chat with the lovely Han and Jim of Hot Milk. I tried breathing underwater to drown out the town. I crashed under the pressure and nearly bled out. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
I've been rained on, so I look like shit. So
well, you look
mine. I look like a pile of shit right now, but it's fine. I'm happy to be talking to you.
It's the rock aesthetic, though. You look great. I know that it's probably been a hectic couple days for you guys, because I know that you have the album coming out in just a few days. So tell us a little more about what we can expect from that. What can we expect from the upcoming release?
What can we expect? We can expect your Hot Milk fashion, carnage. There's some trivial, like, feeling of hopelessness and sadness, and then there's some stupidness, there's some upbeatness,
hard, heavy metal screams in there. Hot Milk is Hot Milk, man. We write and do what we want, and we just write songs that we feel like writing. I think this one's probably more emotional than we've ever written before, and I think it is more heavy, but that's because I feel like that's the way that our band is going at the moment. It might not be this way in a few years' time, but right now we just feel a bit like we want to punch the world in the face and cry about it. So this is kind of where we're at with our music, and the creative output that we have just so happens to be what we've created. So it is what it is. We wrote it because we needed to.
I feel like we've played a lot of like the heavier stuff live recently, and it's kind of what we enjoy more. So I feel like we've been kind of like, you know, swayed to writing somewhat of a heavier and harder hitting album. But yeah, I'm excited to play the songs.
Mm-hmm, me too.
Yeah, you guys just released your fourth single, Breathing Underwater, recently, and you were talking about how you're kind of delving back into that heavier sound, and I think that Breathing Underwater definitely does touch on that. So like, how would you say, besides that, like, how do you think that track would differ from the other three singles that you released prior?
In terms of like feeling wise, it's a deep, dark song. It's weird because it's the only one my mum likes off the new album.
Really?
Like, not too heavy in terms of like the instrumental, like it's not too like metal or too like, you know, she can get and vibe with it, and I think that thing is really dark and emotional and quite depressing. As my dad said the other day, I was just like, yeah, but I'm depressed, Dad. Like, what do you expect? So I don't know, I just think like it's a reaction to how, like, where we're at in life. Like, you don't write happy songs when you're sad, do you? You write sad ones. So that's kind of where that comes from. So
do you guys have a favorite unreleased track from the album that's coming out? And if so, why?
It's hard. It's like picking one of your kids, isn't it?
Don't know. I hope I never have them.
I think I've got two. I've got like Migraine, because I think it's chaotic. It's kind of like encompasses, you know, a lot of the electronic side that we've really pushed on a lot of these songs on this album, which, you know, I really enjoy writing and creating and producing and stuff like that. I think our vocals balance really well in it, Han. Like, it's a lot of like back and forth on that one, whereas, you know, some songs might be a little bit more, you know, leaning towards Han and leaning towards me, whereas this one's like a very, very like straight down the middle split, I feel.
It's a bit of a headache, the song.
Yeah, it kind of it moves in a way that, like, it's not like a standard pop formula of just like verse, chorus, you know, that kind of shit. It kind of just twists and turns all the way through, and there's loads of different like things coming in and out and like cool production. That's probably like my favorite, but I've also got like Forget Me Not, which has got like a really close place to my heart because it's about passing of my granddad. He was diagnosed with dementia and kind of like went down that path, and we sadly lost him to it.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It's one of those where it was like the first dealing with kind of like loss from someone that's really close to me I'd had in my adult life. So I kind of like it hits harder. Like, I lost my grandma and my granddad in the space of like a year and a half, like both of them.
Oh wow.
And it kind of just makes you like reevaluate your own life and kind of like what you're doing and what you take for granted, and what, you know, it gives you a fresh perspective and kind of a filter of like, fuck everything, like keep those close to you, you know, let them know you love them. And, you know, that to me is more about the song itself, even though I really love the musical part, because it's things we've not tried before. It's very much like electronic. There's not really, I don't think there's any live drums in it. It's very like stripped back and different thing that we've done before. So
Wow.
they're kind of like two contrasting things, but they both mean a lot to me.
It hit a lot of things, that song. It's like new things that we'd never done before, and also like a subject matter that was just so like visceral and real and like raw that it just was a song that was easy to write. But then, yeah, I just think it's a good way to end the album. I feel like, because it's like opens doors. It feels like we can do whatever we want after that song, for sure. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Over Your Dead Body. Because
I'm intrigued already.
Well, actually, it was a song that kind of came from three different songs. We shoved loads of stuff together, and at the time, I was like, when I was writing lyrics for it, I was listening to a lot of John Cooper Clarke poetry, which is I don't want to say Mancunian, I'll say a Salford poet. So the city that's next to Manchester, there's a bit of a rivalry, but he's he's known as the Salford Bard. And he's very cheeky in his lyrics and cheeky in his prose and the way that he writes. And so I was trying to like channel a little bit of John Cooper Clarke into that song, and I think we did it quite well because it's very cheeky. It's got one of my favorite lyrics that we've ever written in it. It is like a fuck you song to someone specific, which I won't say, but it's like someone did me over basically, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to lose sleep over your dead body. It's not literal in like, obviously I'd be upset if he died, but it's more like a bugger off, you bastard, you've done me here.
Right. Both of those tracks that you guys are describing I think are definitely going to be able to resonate with a lot of people, not just in the scene, but just on the mainstream of music in general. The themes of loss and the themes of basically saying fuck you to somebody in like two different ways, I think are going to resonate really well.
Well, that's the thing. The album's got a lot of different sides to it, and it overall arching, like it's heart of it all is this like notion of kind of like nihilism, which is the void, So it all ties together that way.
Right. And I know that you guys, a big part of why you guys are blowing up in the scene right now is because of your versatility in lyrics and sound as well. So I guess the question I have for you guys is there an artist or someone in the scene or just even in your life in general that have had kind of like an impact or inspiration on you and your sound and your writing and like who you've become as a musician?
Interesting. I think we listen to such like a versatile amount of genres. It really does kind of broaden your mind and kind of makes you look at things from like a fresh perspective from a musical side. Like I know me and Hannah have listened to like an awful lot of NF at the moment, which is this US rapper who predominantly uses kind of orchestral production for his music, and his flow and his production are fucking insane. It's one of the best albums. It's one of my favorite. That last Clouds album was probably my favorite album of last year when it come out. That's been really kind of like eye-opening.
I think there's been a lot of like electronic music that's really impacted. I think from a production perspective, like the way that we approach it is because we have listened to so much stuff out of the scene for so long. Because I would say that, quite old now, and you do tend to like, broaden your horizons the older you get. And I think for me, like dance music has always been a home for my heart as well. I think keeping that rock core and like keeping like the guitar at the center of what we do, but then like modernizing it with a new sound. I think that's what we've always tried to create, something fresh and something new, something that we've never heard before, and something that we like to play and can be proud of. So I think that's why Hot Milk is multi-genre. I would say Hot Milk is Hot Milk. It is just an emotion at this point. Like every song has its own feeling, and that's why I say Hot Milk is an emotion, because it's just whatever we feel in the studio that day. It's not with no intent or purpose to it. It's just what a conduit for heart and for head.
I feel like rock music's always kind of been a part of our lives, so writing guitar-based music is just something that comes like quite easily to us. Yeah. So having like Hannah said, like growing up and kind of getting outside of the rock world and listening to like different music, whether that be like, classical, dance music, like world music.
Like scores of films as well.
Yeah, exactly. It just really opens your eyes to like different ideas and avenues that you can explore. Like you don't have to sit in this like circular pigeonhole of music that people try and force you.
Only dumb people do that. People
Yeah,
are
by like, you know,
Right.
I understand the need for genre, but I also feel like you can kind of surpass genre and mix genre. I don't feel like you should ever be like tethered
I
to it.
am this. I am only this and this. Like I would hate that. I hate being told what I am or what to do. I've
Yeah.
never liked authority or anything like that. So why are you going to try and tell me what my art is, man? Like let me just live it, and it'll be what it be. It is like hot milk's hot milk, man. It is what it is.
See, that's awesome. Like I always loved the idea that people are able to like mix genres and things of that nature and kind of delve into blurred lines between electronic, between rock, between pop, between rap, new metal, for example, when it came up in the early 2000s is an example of, you know, the combining of rap and rock and then throwing it into this whole new thing. So I think that you guys bringing that back and pushing it forward even further is such a pioneer move for the music scene right now that we definitely need.
Being experimental is so important as a musician. Not all of it always hits. Like some stuff doesn't. Like I think it was Rick Rubin that said, "You make what you make, and then you let the universe decide." And there's nothing that you can do. You just have to do what's real and make what you make. And you know, it's not up to you at the end of the day.
I know that the title of the album is Call to the Void. Is there a significance behind the album title for you guys that like really like was there a story behind it or was it just a phrase?
Yeah, it's like something that came up in like reading and with some friends a few times. Like when we were driving at night, they'd be like, "Oh, call to the void! I could just kill you all right now." You know, and your friends do like, "What would you do? I killed you all right now." But like you know, I did a lot of research, and it's like it's a French saying. It comes from the saying "l'appel de vide," and I think that kind of draw to the darkness. I think there's always a darkness in everyone. And I think for me, I felt very drawn to that title. I kept coming back to it. And I was just like, I think it just represents what is at the heart of all that we do as a band. It is being on that precipice of light and dark and being trying to like balance between happy and sad and just trying to get through the days. Like it's hard sometimes to reprogram your brain when you're always drawn to this, like, you know, this dark side of the moon, essentially, which is your head. So I think I was always drawn to that title, and I think it ultimately just made the most sense. And I also like that it has like a bit of a sci-fi, like spacey element to it because I'm a big like bit of a science geek. So I think for me it was like just a natural name choice.
I know that you guys are hitting the road in 2024 and it's with a major band, Foo Fighters. So how do you guys feel about that? Like what is something as major as touring with an iconic group like Foo Fighters, like working with Dave Grohl? Like what does that mean to you as a musician? And like, what's the journey been like to get to this moment for you guys?
Like we're not worthy.
We're actually supporting them this year. We're doing an Australian run in December.
Yeah, in December, we're doing Australian. We're going to Japan first, then we're going to Australia with them, which that's going to be so weird. Being not only on the other side of the world, but playing stadiums with the Foo Fighters on the other side of the world. Like the furthest you can get away from Manchester is Sydney. But
I feel like it's a bit of a masterclass. Like we were lucky enough to support them a couple of years ago. In the UK, just watching how they operate and how their team operates is really kind of like leveling because you know you see a lot of ego in music, you see a lot of wankery, and for it to be such a close knit bunch of people, like for the size of the crew and the band that it is, everyone is like family. It's such a happy and
it's an example of how to do it.
It's a welcoming place to be around, and I feel like you can really learn like so much from some of these kind of, you know, older bands or whatever, because they've been around the block a couple of times. Yeah, some of them have got big egos. Some of them just love to be on tour and just treat it like every day is, you know, their best day.
Yeah, that's the thing. And we've toured with some like younger bands that have been absolute cunts, to be honest. And you're like, mate, Dave Grohl would never. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Like, and you go, you know, when we're in LA, sometimes we're at these LA parties and we're all walking around thinking they're all the tits and the dog bollocks. You're like, mate, Dave Grohl would never. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's grounding and it just gives you like, you know, an example of how to be. So when we do our headline tour in November, you know, who do you think we're gonna be like? We're gonna make all our support bands feel good. We're gonna make everyone on the tour feel good. We want everyone to feel welcome. We want everyone to have the fucking best time. And that's what it should be about. Music is supposed to bring together, not to separate.
Looking at their show as well, they really kind of taught us how to create an engaging and personal show. Like the fact that if you've ever watched the Foo Fighters, you can stand there in the crowd with like, you know, 100,000 other people, but you feel like Dave's singing to you personally. You feel like you're there with them. And I feel like that's such an incredible talent to have. And the musicianship on that stage is insane.
Bravo.
Yeah, it's just a really, really good show. And there's so many little things that you can, when you watch, you know.
It's very long though, isn't it, Jim? It's a very long show.
To go, yeah, for 3 hours, it's fucking wild.
Recently, you were on a U.S. leg of a tour. You guys did some festivals out here, and obviously, you know, Caliber is an American-based outlet. So for the American fans, was there anything in particular from the American tour that was fun for you guys or made you guys laugh or you guys just thought was god awful? Because I know there's plenty of complaints and there's plenty of funny things that you could say about being on tour in America.
We want to do more of America. We'd love to come back and keep doing more. I've been coming to America since I was like, 16 years old. So I feel like I know it quite well, but you know, there's something that will always surprise you out there. I always say that America's like the Wild West still. And it's not a first world country, let's be real.
They've got some incredible people out there, like some absolute characters, which is good and bad. But yeah, we've met some fucking amazing people.
We've also met some mad people out there.
Yeah. We love playing American shows. They're always dead fun. But the one thing that pisses me right off is the fact that no one has the fucking tax on the items in the shop. You've got to do fucking as you go around the shop. So you get there and you're like, oh, I spent $24, and they'll be like, that's $32.40. You'll be like, what the fuck? No, it's not.
The American accent is so spot on too. It's like Midwest.
Yeah. Oh, that pisses me right off. But yeah, no, can't wait to be back.
We can't wait to have you back. We're going to be very excited, especially with the new album coming out. Well, there you have it, everybody. It's the incredible Han and Jim of Hot Milk. Thank you so much, both of you guys, for coming on. Make sure to stream Call to the Void out everywhere this coming Friday. You guys are not going to want to miss this.
No, you're not.
No, you're not. I'm Gina Bina. I'll catch you guys on the flip.